With a master's in food business degree from the prestigious Culinary Institute of America, Jason Wallace, a former executive chef restaurateur, is an innovative restaurant operations scientist. Wallace's client list reflects all genres of food service, including startups, quick service, full and limited service restaurants. Wallace's educational seminars for leadership development have been attended by prominent restaurant companies. As a food service educator, Wallace has served as a professor and guest lecturer at the New York Restaurant School, the Art Institute, Hudson and Westchester County Colleges. Wallace has been an active member of the New York State Restaurant Association, which was established in 1935, holding various leadership positions, including treasurer, vice chairman of the board of directors, and in 2010, Wallace became the first African-American chairman of the board for the New York State Restaurant Association.
Today's guests, we are going into another lane. We are going to talk about creatives, right? Creatives meaning in the culinary world, that is a chef, that is a pastry chef, that are those individuals that pursue culinary excellence. There is a problem with creatives because they're creatives, right? They're emotional about the journey that they take. They're emotional about their food, their menus, their concepts. But the problem is that business decisions have to be made on hard, factual data. So many times chefs run into a brick wall when it comes to understanding the business side of maximizing profit. And you hear me say it often. This is not a game. This is not a hobby. The goal is to build wealth through restaurant operations. And yes, we could utilize our passion for culinary excellence. However, there is a business side of that. So the reason why I say we're going to another lane is because I've brought in my dear friend who is an expert chef, but he's also an expert at concept development and the ability to expand. We're talking about expansion from one concept, conceptual design, to multiple units. So without any further ado, allow me to introduce my friend, celebrity chef, Jumoke Jackson, executive chef of Slutty Vegan.
Give myself a clap.
My man.
Give myself a little clap.
It's good to see you.
Give myself a little round of applause.
Absolutely. You're phenomenal.
Have to give yourself your flowers.
And yes, sir. And we only have the cream of the crop on the show. So I'm glad that you can make the time. I know you're a very busy man.
Yeah, I'm honored to be.
Being a celebrity chef and traveling and also being a chef to private chef clients, celebrity clients as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time out.
Listen, I'm honored to be here. You asked, and I said I was more than honored to take the time to do it. I would love to share. I love to educate, and I love to just connect with anybody in the industry.
Absolutely. And you hit it right on the head. So this show is about education and inspiration. So we want to inspire those entrepreneurs out there, those restaurateurs, whether you're front of the house or back of the house, culinary arts, baking and pastries, or general manager, bar managers. We want to inspire you, but we want to inspire you with knowledge and to give you the information of what it's like to be the CEO. Most of us are CEOs of our brands by default because we started a company, right? But at what point, and I say this all the time, all this shit is personal. We've been lied to for years, right? Because the part of our brain that governs our decision-making at the core is the limbic system, and that's where emotion lives. So it's important that we put those emotions in check as creatives, as a chef, me, myself included, chef background. But when I made the transition and went back and got my undergraduate degrees and my graduate degrees, I saw a void. That many chefs do not understand how to really do repeatable strategies and build brand and expand brands. So, chef, let's talk about you, right? Being a creative, how did you start? What's your creative process, and how do you approach developing a new menu, right? What are your inspirations? And then more importantly, how do we segue into making that so that, because you're not the one that's actually going to be doing it and executing it, right? So there has to be some level of policies and procedures and training in place to make sure that the team can execute. And how does that go into your thought process? So let's talk about your creative process.
So when I'm working with a menu that's not my own, right? It's a restaurant or a pop-up, or I've worked with food trucks before as well. The one thing that I've learned is you have to really connect with what that food establishment is about, right? What is their story? What is their brand about? What are they trying to communicate? And unfortunately, 6 times out of 10, they don't have a clear answer, right? And so we have to start there.
Yeah.
And so while I am there for the menu, if I feel like the restaurant is not aligned in having a singular message or a very direct message for their audience, I'm either going to say no, or I'm going to say we need to develop this first, because I don't personally think it's going to be successful if you have a mixed message. If you're not on brand all the time, and if you're not really developing your voice in that lane. So that's
Right.
step number one before we even get to the menu.
Gotcha. Branding,
I
because
have to
people think
understand
branding and marketing is the same thing, right? It's
the
not.
same thing. The menu is an extension of that, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, if everything else is aligned, then it doesn't even matter.
Yes.
You can have the best food in the world, but if you're not communicating that brand out there, nobody's going to ever see it. So
Let's talk to that line cook, chef. How did you learn this? Like, how did you get to a
There.
level?
trial and error.
Trial and error. Okay.
Trial and
Okay.
error. I am from the school of hard knocks. I'm
Okay.
a self-taught chef. I'm self-taught in any restaurant development, marketing, all of that, guerrilla, street team tactics, all of that from the gutter. Learned it, YouTube, mentorship, whatever I can get.
Yep.
Aside from going to school, I did it the harder way. But I definitely did it, and I earned my lumps, and I think I benefit from it.
Okay.
Oh, then once we get to the menu, right?
Yeah, I
Once
was
we get to the
gonna.
menu, it needs to be an extension of that, right? And every item needs to speak to that. I am a chef first, so I understand being an artist, and I've even had this debate with other chefs. I think chefs are artists, right? And
Absolutely.
we absolutely create works on plates.
Creatives.
And I
Absolutely.
think Erica Badu said it best. Keep in mind that I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my
I'm
shit.
sensitive about my shit. That's why I started with the emotion. The emotions. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I'm sensitive about it, and I get sensitive about it. But to me, be successful in the restaurant, I think it's more of a partnership. Otherwise, you have to be kind of like a unicorn, right? You have to have that creative person, but you also have to have that numbers person. That person that's going to keep you in line with making that business successful, a left and a right brain. You have to have them both. And
Yep.
if you can't have two people, then you have to be that unicorn yourself and being able to step outside of yourself as the artist and go, does this make sense financially? Do these numbers add up? Can it work?
Yep.
Right. And so if you can't do that, then that's the next downside. So in developing the menu, that's the first thing I'm thinking about is the margins, like
Yeah.
how successful can this item be, right? Is it going to yield us enough of a profit that it makes sense? So
Yep.
creatively first, through communicating whatever the message is, the Jamaican concept, how are we either staying true to the classic Jamaican items and just making them fantastic, or how are we reimagining it if you want to be an infusion with this, that, or if it's a healthy concept, how can we speak to a healthy Jamaican approach? So whatever the message is, that's how I'm developing the menu. But then also in the back of my mind, the first thing I'm thinking about when I have a singular item is, does this item yield enough profit to make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To go through it. So
Absolutely. So Chef and I had some, we worked together before on a project in Atlanta. He's on a team with Slutty Vegan. I did some work with Bar Vegan. He's absolutely right. When you don't have that ability or someone or someone on your team to do that, which is why I kind of pivoted from being an executive chef over into general manager and operations expert, right? COO, CFO, because I saw a void there with all of the creatives that are out there. and there's some talented chefs out there. But you know, at some point in time, what Chef said, the profit, right? Let me clarify that for you. Inspired cooks and chefs, that there's a difference between the cost of the item that it puts on the plate and the selling price. That's called the contribution margin, right? It only becomes profit once you sell so many volumes of that item. So your profit margin or your contribution margin on pasta might be 25%, and your food cost might be 25%, but that pasta dish might yield you $15 every time you sell it, right? Versus a higher end dish like crab meat, right? Lump crab meat or lobster, where your food cost might be higher, right? But if you sell it for $50 every time, the difference is, and it costs you $25, now you're really putting $25 in the bank, right? That's what we put money in the bank, not necessarily food costs. In order to understand that, you first need to understand that contribution margin is the difference between the selling price and the cost of the food before we calculate labor, before we calculate fuel, right? The cost of the gas, electric, and things of that nature. So Chef hit it right on the head coming out the gate. So let's talk about, all right, you're in development. The concept is on brand, as you said. If they're not aligned, there's going to be a problem, right? So, you know, if you use this sports analogy like I do often, you know, if you are an elite player and you're playing with mediocre talent around you, you'll never be aligned, because the elite player, like Kobe's showing up early, right, in the gym. He's staying late. If he has a bad game, he's shooting 100 foul shots. Yeah. So when you follow the greats, Kobe, Steph Curry, Jordan, the one thing that you hear consistently about them is they put adult peer pressure on your ass as a professional to show up early, stay late, and be elite. So when people are not elite and you're okay with mediocrity, then that's when we are not aligned from the door. And that's what Chef is talking about, just in terms of just brand identity. We haven't even talked about the marketing plan yet.
One of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to rise to your level or you're going to sink down to theirs.
Yeah. Or they got to go. Or the third thing is they got to go, right?
Yeah. And then you got to be able to move those parts in and out. You understand that you're trying to make a perfect puzzle. So the pieces have to be interchangeable, right? And if that person is not willing to elevate themselves to the standard that you need, you have to replace it, right? Because otherwise you are coming down. One of the two would happen. One of the two. So if you can't get somebody to elevate, then you have to be able to be willing to make that change.
Absolutely. So how do you I know you as a creative, you start with a menu, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you narrow that menu down to the final items that actually make the cut for the soft opening or for the grand opening, particularly when you're developing a concept from the beginning?
Yeah. Usually, for the most part, it is the effort of the labor behind, right? Also, if it's duplicatable, right? If it's too complicated for, there's so many caveats. If it's too complicated for the staff, for the space, some menu items don't work just because of the space that you're in. So usually those are the things that will help us fine tune that final menu. And then the menu then at that point comes down to the owner, right?
Gotcha.
Or the tastings, getting feedback from the audience. We'll, do a series of private tastings, and it's done by either a taste committee or an informal committee. So we get it down to the point that work most efficiently for the kitchen, that has a good profit margin, that speaks to the brand, and then at that point it's of the owner or some tasting committee.
Got you. So you expose yourself to a lot of critics, right? That's the you can't have. You gotta have thick skin to be a chef. First of all, because
100%.
People would love your product. Or on the other side of that spectrum is they'll come and let you know too, like this ain't hitting.
You gotta be adept, and I think that's where you get the chef that take personally, right? As opposed to knowing it's more than just how you feel about it, right? If you're feeding someone else, it can't just be what you want. You can, but it's a tougher road. So, you can go, I'm this and that, and it's going to be my way or the highway. Okay. But a more approachable way is to listen to the audience that you're trying to attract. Right.
Yes.
And so if that audience is saying, listen, this is too hot, then you need to soften it up. If,
Right.
or
Right.
have some interchangeable thing. There's a hot version and then there's a my version, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
you have to be able to listen to the audience if you're going to be that creative person. Going to work out for you in the long run.
Got you. So now we're talking about, again, the ability to create proof of concept and then expand. So what role do the raw ingredients play in terms of cross-utilization of the products? As you mentioned, you alluded to, talk to me about equipment and square footage and, whether it's cooking equipment, whether it's refrigeration and the techniques that are involved in the menu. As a chef, we braise, we poach, we saute, we bake, right? So we apply moist or dry cooking methods, proteins coagulate, starches gelatinize, sugar caramelize, and water evaporate. So there is a scientific part of understanding what's happening in the molecules. As experts, really, as chefs, we're experts of heat, right? We know which type of heat to apply to change, right, the molecular structure of whatever it is we're cooking. So talk to us about your process and the ability to create, even if you only want one concept, is the approach that you have to approach it as if you're going to open up 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 of these units? Is that the approach you have to
Yes,
take?
I want something. To me, in the beginning, it's not so much so that I'm thinking about the expansion. I'm thinking about the consistency of it turning out the same way, right?
Okay.
So if I can create a recipe that almost anybody can duplicate if they know how to read, if they have basic cooking skills, and can duplicate. So that's usually the approach I have. Now, again, it depends on what this is. If it's a quick service restaurant or a fine dining restaurant. Yeah, it depends on that a little bit more, but honestly, I'm thinking about approachable and consistency, right? So if the menu if the recipe can be super consistent, like, listen, all you have to do is put this in a bowl, stir it for 5 minutes exactly, put it over the heat at a number 2 for 3 minutes and 22 seconds, pull it out, let it rest for 5 minutes, cut it on a bias. You should get 6 cuts. You can serve them out one at a time. It needs to be as dry as that. And then I know that I have a winner, right? Once I can do that, because I know that the only error is going to be literally somebody not caring.
Right. He's dropping bombs here. He's dropping nuggets, knowledge, people. Because what he's saying is that there has to be some type of policies and procedures in place that minimizes the human interaction, right? So if you look at, even how we utilize technology in today's manufacturing of equipment, right? There are deep fryers out there that you could program, and you see them, and they've been out there for years at, McDonald's, right? You forget about what you think about them. The fact that they have a fryer that you push the button, it goes down into the grease, and the grease maintains a certain temperature. And 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever it is later, that machine comes up out of the grease automatically. Why did they do that? Because they want to stop Chef Jumoke from saying, well, I like my fries a little crispier, so I'm going to leave them in so that they go a little more browner. And I may say, well, I like my fries a little softer. Right. So what Chef Jumoke is talking about here is when he's developing the concept and the menu, he's already taken all these things into consideration about the skilled labor, about the equipment, and as well as the raw ingredients.
Yeah. Efficiency also, I know the term no waste, right?
Yes.
So as many ways as we can cross-use a particular ingredient, the better, right? The less, you want to have minimal ingredients as possible, right? To accomplish what you want. But, so the goal is to minimize that cross-use and have no waste. That's how are going to definitely get the biggest yield.
Absolutely. From the inventory as well as the labor, the staff as well.
Yeah.
Are there any particular programs out there, software that you utilize to help either develop recipes, do food costing, And or more importantly, once all that is done, for checks and balances, anything in particular?
Not in particular, there's the standard Cisco, equipment or toast or something like that. I'm more of like I'm super old school, and I like a pen and a pad, or a
Okay.
pencil and a pad.
I thought you was gonna say a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, but you're
True,
definitely old
true.
school,
Like
pen and the
I'm super old school, and so I'll be honest with you, my technology skills are on the limited side. So I know a few of them, and I do use some things like a Cisco we use in Study Vegan to hold our inventory, and our recipes are up there, portioned out. We know the exact price that we're paying for it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I keep it pretty basic personally.
Got you, got you, got you. And you did touch on things because prices move, right? They're commodities, and the price of these commodities go up and down. Particularly in the vegan space,
Yeah.
that stuff could be actually more expensive than non-vegan items. So you have to monitor that closely, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you absolutely have to stay on top of it, and I think the more creative you get, like we got more, we're trying and been back and forth and getting more into LCOs. And, the greatest, there's not every readily available item on, say, a Cisco, and so you have to go direct with a provider, and so that price could fluctuate. And you not know it, you get an invoice the next day and it's up 25%.
Right, right. There's your margin blown up, like literally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those little things, definitely in the vegan space. That's the challenge with that. But there are
Okay.
great strides going on in plant-based. I know you know that, and it's definitely becoming more mainstream, and things
Yeah.
becoming a lot more available.
Yeah, we're excited about it, and the flavors they're getting yeah, much
I got a
better.
crab cake that will blow your mind.
Is that right?
You haven't had it yet, but I need to,
Yeah,
time I see
absolutely.
you,
I mean,
I need to put that in front of you. It will blow you. And I'm from DC,
yeah,
by way
yo,
of
so you come from the yeah, from the
and Baltimore is right up your street. So
yeah,
understand uh, my crab cake standard.
yeah, yeah. The expectations on another
Yeah.
level. Yeah, I got to come check that one out for sure. Let's talk about a little bit about grand opening, right? Now you've done all the preliminary work. What are some of the challenges that you're facing and you see when it comes to training the team and getting the place up and running, and more importantly, what's that first 6 months look like, that people can understand in terms of growing a brand and launching it versus creating it versus launching it.
Yeah, it's just you the same as getting a license for the first time,
A driver's
right?
license.
Driver's license. You read about it all day. You've passed the written test. Um, you may have even taken it for a spin or two, and that's why they have soft openings. But until you actually do it, you never know what's going to pop up. And so something always will pop up, and you got to just be flexible and be on the fly with that. And so, like I said, and then it's about just repetition.
Yeah.
You get into a repetitive state and you just become proficient at it. Just like when you were first learning to drive, your arms were always at 10 and 2. Now you can drive with your hand halfway on while you're on the phone, dealing with
Right.
your kids in the back, listening to the radio, changing that around, and yelling at somebody out the window. You can do things at once. So it's
Right.
the same approach. And so again, it's just about the repetition. So within 6 months, if you're not into a repetition, something is drastically wrong.
Something wrong. Talk to me about the feedback. So now you had 6 months to a year runway, right?
Yeah.
Now you've had customers really feedback, the feedback. How much of that feedback do you take to make adjustments versus full modification changes or deletions from the menu? What's the mechanism in place to collect that data and then maybe even go back to the team so that it's not taking you off brand, but now, from a marketing point of view or branding point of view, the market is telling us something else, right?
Yeah.
The consumer is telling us that we want some of these other items that not on the menu. Talk to me a little bit about that and how far do you go, right, with that?
Yeah. I'd say you go as far as it keeps you on brand. And if it's taking you off brand, either that's speaking to you about this concept doesn't work in this particular area or this place, like say you're trying to do Jamaican in Wisconsin. it may not work there. Like people just
Right.
may not like. They might go, you know what? If this jerk chicken, can you just make it with nothing on it and a little bit of salt, just a drop of salt?
Uh-huh.
I like that's completely off the so you got to listen to the survey and know if it's keeping you on brand or not. If it's something modest, something that's a little adjustment that makes sense. Like I said before, with like heat, like say the jerk chicken is just way too hot.
It's spicy.
Like 60% of the people that you survey are saying this is too hot. Then either you're making the adjustment to that one recipe, or maybe giving an alternative. Here's a milder version of so.
Gotcha.
Then split it out. So you make those adjustments. I think you absolutely listen to the surveys, because that's where the gems of what your customers want is. And you just kind of make that adjustment. That's after the fact, after the sale. That's during. That's if it's a sit down restaurant, that interaction with with the wait staff and the feedback that you get front of the
Right.
house. So it's adjustments wherever you can get them.
Got you. So let's talk a little bit about expansion. You are an expert at that. How many stores have you opened this? Like, how many Slutty Vegans you guys opened this year or last year?
Last year it was 6.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what is that like? And give us a little education without, we're not asking you to reveal any trade secrets.
Mhm.
But, like, what are some of the things that you see that is a void, particularly from the human resource side, right? Meaning that you need to hire X, I don't know how many cooks or whatever the job titles are, right?
Yeah.
So the job titles have to be specific,
Yeah.
right? So now you've created these menus and these menu items to fit a particular job title.
Yeah.
What's that process like when you are now opening a store next month? And what's that checklist? And then more, now that one's up and running, and now 4 months later, you're on to the second or third store this year.
Yeah, I think it starts with the hiring.
Okay.
And even though I'm not human resources, right, I don't do the actual going, you have a job. I have been involved in some of the selection process, right?
Okay.
And so I think you have to really, food and beverage, particularly restaurants, there's a lot of turnover, right? And
Yeah.
you're gonna, somebody new could be new there every single week, in some stretches, but you really have to find the people that are going to care enough to execute the way you want. And I think that comes into latching onto what your brand is about, right? And so if they feel supported and creating the environment that that makes them feel supported. If you show genuine care about them, I think they'll show genuine care about you and the execution of what you're trying to do. So you have to have an environment that is reciprocal in terms of benefit. And then once you've created that, then it's just practice. Remember Allen Iverson, he was like, practice.
Yeah.
We're talking about practice.
Talking about, right?
Yes, we're talking about practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Practice. Like that's literally all it is. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's repetition.
Got you.
And so if once you have somebody passionate, then it's just a matter of time before you become an expert at it, because they practice so much. They messed up the fries 5 times. Okay, do it 5 more. You'll
Right.
get it. You get it. Right.
Right.
It'll come. So it may take 10 times, but if you got the passion and you're locked in, I know you'll get it. So
Got you. And at this point, I'm assuming all of the equipment standardized. So once once you're on brand with all the
100%.
equipment, you're not the kitchen design might change a little bit, but the
Yeah.
equipment, the
Yeah,
fryers,
a
the
master
ovens, the
plan
grills.
of everything that you did to create that, should create it the first time, right? And so the untangible part is you can have the exact same equipment, you can have the exact same ingredients, and then comes down to the people.
The people,
Which is why I said hiring to
human capital.
start with. It's the
Human
hiring.
capital. Most important thing that's not on our
Absolutely.
balance sheet, human capital. It's an
100%.
asset, our most valuable asset, people. So let me just drop a little knowledge for the people out there. Pay particular attention for those that are independents. Pay particular attention to what Chef is saying about the standardization of everything. Because what ends up happening is, and I see it because I consult for these independent operators, you end up cutting corners. You either are going into spaces that don't allow you to keep safety. Our number one job is actually safety before food and beverage, right? Is sanitation, right? So cold food has to be kept cold, hot food has to be kept hot, and everything has to be in between there. So what I see with these independent operators, and which is why it's so important for us to bring someone like Chef Jumoke on the show to educate at this point how you open up 6 stores a year, but it has to start with a system of uniform equipment and understand the policies and procedures and the processes associated with keeping that food safe throughout the entire journey, right? From the time it comes, right? So chefs, I mean, I know you guys do thorough jobs over there in terms of making sure that serve safe practices are followed and checklists are followed.
Yeah,
So
100%.
talk a little bit about that and in the importance so that the independent operators know that this needs to be part of your business plan development. And when you're speaking to your architect and you're about to sign a lease and all those other things, you got to put this to the forefront of your agenda.
Yeah, 100%. It's part of the mission statement, Pinky Promises. And one of her Pinky Promises is the cleanliness, right? So
Yes.
Slutty Vegan, I think we do push it at Bar Vegan, but more so at Slutty Vegan, one of the Pinky Promises is cleanliness of the space. And so, constantly getting inspected both externally and internally to make sure that we are first and foremost, like you said, putting cleanliness and safety first. That just goes without question. That's just your level of professionalism and how seriously you're taking feeding other people. So
Absolutely.
if you're not doing that, then that speaks to the standard that you're willing to operate at. So cutting corners when it comes to safety and cleanliness, I don't even know how you begin that talk. So it's either the standard or it's not. No in between. It's either there or it's not. So that is something that you should be super militant about.
And I can attest, I've seen those Slutty Vegan kitchens are extremely clean.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about clean. And I've been in some clean kitchens and some dirty kitchens. So I know that's Dan. Yeah, Pinky don't play that game. She's on point.
No Gordon Ramsay nightmare.
Let's give Pinky a shout out. We definitely love and support what she does, and we all need her to keep doing what she's doing because she's an inspiration to all of us. So we got about 10 minutes, Chef.
Yep.
Let's just. I know you also do some private chefing.
You want to spend 10 minutes on anything? I'm gonna tell you about a concept that I'm working on.
Okay. Okay.
I got plenty of things to promote.
Let's do it.
So one of the things,
I know you did that chef contest that I voted. What was that on?
I am.
You won that, right? I mean, I voted for you.
Yeah, I won.
You won.
I won
Okay.
that competition.
All right.
It was a kitchen competition. It was on Instagram. But I won $10,000. So that was, that was great.
Nice.
And that was my second time competing. I came in second last year. I won this year, so that was
Okay.
cool. I love competing. I love competition shows. I've done a few of them on Food Network. And anytime somebody calls me for one, I jump at it just because I'm a self-taught chef. And so for me, I'm always trying to prove that I'm as good as a trained chef. So
Got you. Yeah. No, I seen the episode where you was on Food Network, man.
Yeah.
You did your thing there.
I'm trying.
So let's talk about this concept. What you got in mind?
So
investors out there, listen, y'all better listen up because I got a little money I might throw behind him myself because we talked about it last week.
I'll tell you the quick story behind it. In 2019, I was part of a competition that was run by Urban Space and Citibank. They had this competition. They had 3 finalists. I was one of 3 chefs. They put us in these booths, these food booths across the city of New York. I was over by Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
And we ran it for 40 days. Run this booth for 40 days, see how people respond to it. It was called Soulful Sandwich, right?
Okay.
One of the sandwiches on my menu was called the hot buttered soul because I named everything after kind of a soulful song or a soulful person. So hot buttered soul, that song by Isaac Hayes. It was a fried chicken thigh, mac and cheese, sweet potato puree. And it was mashed between a buttermilk biscuit. It was a super popular thing. Yeah, right. See some of the Instagram pictures and like it was like semi-viral back then, but I sold over 10,000 of that one sandwich in 40 days.
Wow.
That one sandwich alone, it was super popular. And it just made me connect with biscuits on a different level because every one of those biscuits I made
Yeah.
myself, right?
Wow.
I handmade every last one of those biscuits. And so I feel like I went from an okay biscuit maker to by the end of it, I feel like I'm a biscuit whisperer. Like
Right.
I know, feel like I know everything there is about making a perfect biscuit. So,
Nice.
so
Okay.
then after that, I just stayed connected with that idea, like that there's something to biscuit making that I think people gravitate toward. So I changed that pop-up concept from soulful sandwich into just soulful biscuit. And so it
Gotcha.
was just biscuits after that. And I've done pop-ups at Hester Fair. I've done them in DC. I've done them like all over the place, all over the country. And I even created a virtual biscuit class during the pandemic. And since then I've still taught thousands and thousands of people how to make biscuits. So I just have a nice biscuit community that I've created, from buying an e-cookbook that I wrote called Soulful Biscuit to still doing the pop-ups randomly in different spots and always doing well. I do festivals with it. I go down to Food and Wine in Miami. I'm in New Orleans in 2 weeks doing the Food and Wine there. And
Gotcha.
so I do have a following known as the Bishop of Biscuit.
The Bishop of Biscuits. You heard it here
Yeah,
from
the Bishop of
the
Biscuit. I do
Bishop
have
of
a
the Biscuit.
following known as the Bishop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
I decided that it's time to take that concept and put a commonplace on it. So
Oh,
storefront and or food truck. I want to create and like how you see the hot side of Krispy Kreme donut when it comes on.
yeah,
You make a
yeah.
U-turn to go get that Krispy
Yeah,
Kreme.
yeah.
Same thing with the biscuit. I want you to
Gotcha.
make a U-turn and go. The hot side is on. I gotta go get me a soulful biscuit.
Oh my goodness. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. Hey, listen, man. We talked about this last week before you came on the show, and I'm committed. I looked for literally, I'm telling you a lie. I was driving around Newark looking for a location, and I talked to my broker. I'm like, listen, if you come across a retail second generation restaurant about 2,000 square feet, let me know. I'm ready to sign a lease. So we're gonna do this, brother. Trust me. You and I, we're going. Y'all
I
heard it
already know
first.
it's a winner. I already know it's a winner.
Y'all heard it first because now you got, you got two legends. It's like
Gonna be in
Snoop
Shaq.
and Dr. Dre coming together. It's
Like
like
Snoop and
Shaq and
Dre,
Kobe,
it's Shaq and Kobe, it's Jordan and Pippen,
right?
all those things.
All,
LeBron and Wade. It's like so whatever.
all that. We're gonna do it. I assure you, this is gonna happen within the next 6 months. No doubt, no doubt.
But yeah, but that's the only other thing on my mind. Is
Okay.
biscuit. So
Okay. All right. I like it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. How can people get in touch with you if people want to hire you for catering or consulting? What are your handles?
any of that is Mr. Foodtastic on every social media platform. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn.
Mr. Foodtastic, like
Mr.
boom,
Foodtastic. Like Boombastic Foodtastic. FOODTASTIC. Miss MR. FOODTASTIC. Mr.
Mr.
Foodtastic.
Mr. Foodtastic. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then, you all can always reach out to me and I'll put Chef in contact with
Yep.
you with the numbers.
Yeah, chefjjackson.com.
ChefJJackson.com. Wow, 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 wow. Anything we missed? What do you think? I think we covered most of it, all of it.
I think we covered, the one other thing that I had a thought of and I didn't say it on, there's one little caveat that I think also people don't necessarily latch onto with the restaurant concept is your brand story and how that can be an integral part of the value that you put on it, right? If Tiffany's can sell a paperclip for $500, it means that their brand is strong. right? And so the more effort you put on your brand, the more premium of a price you can pay. Like you can
Absolutely.
justify, like Study V can justify almost a $20 burger because the brand is so strong,
Yep.
right? And so in other places can't because they don't have that brand store. So that is another piece of a successful restaurant is building up that brand. You can do that through quality of food and service and all of that, but you can also make sure that you're telling that story through social media, through events, through PR, through whatever means you have. But building up that brand is also a very key part of a successful restaurant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before I forget, let me just tell everybody now, if you don't know, Newark is an emerging market, right? Meaning that this is the time to start looking for restaurant spaces. I'm on a mission to turn Newark into a food town destination. I saw Pinky a couple days ago at the Chicago Food Show, and I said, if you're looking for Newark, I'm a licensed real estate agent. I only do commercial real estate for restaurant spaces, because that's my lane as a consultant. So if anyone out there is looking for a space in Newark, call me. And I want to put that on your radar too. So I don't know where you guys are going next with the Slutty Vegan brand. I know a pop-up was done there. I think the food truck came this past weekend. It was very successful.
Yeah.
And everybody's blowing up my phone because they knew I worked for Bar Vegan. I'm like, did some work. It's like, is Pinky coming? Is Slutty Vegan coming? We want. I'm talking about everybody from some of the corporate leaders. And I'm like, let me find out. So, put that on your radar. If it's not on your radar for Q2, 3, or 4 for 2024, Chef, let's get Newark on your radar for 2025, Q1, Q2, 2025. And, don't go to anybody else. Come to me, man. Let me get that commission.
Definitely. Gotta keep it with the home. Gotta keep it with the home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay. Any last final words? That's it. Anything else?
No, I think that was great. I think we covered a lot. I hope that it was helpful.
Very
People
much
can
so.
always reach out to me. Like I said, it's Mr. Poutet on all social. Chef Jackson is the website. Always feel free to me. I love connecting with chefs. I love eating, going into the kitchen, meeting the chefs, and anywhere that I go. So never had to reach.
Nah, you're dope, brother. You're dope. Your energy is great. From the first day we met. It's like I always vibe with people. No animosity, no jealousy, none of that bullshit, man. Like, listen, we just come together. We bring our resources. We bring our brain power together, and we're unstoppable. We really are when we do it the right way.
Yes, sir.
So this concludes another episode. Hidden Figures, Behind the Numbers with the Restaurant Scientists. I want to give a shout out and thank you to our sponsors, Cornerstone Business Labs, Cornerstone Production, and Cornerstone Media. So until we meet again, as always, imparting power to the people.